Hey guys, so today I'm going to make saltfish and rice with Bora for you guys. Um, it's something that I and the kids enjoy eating a lot, and it's something that I grew up eating. So I'll show you how I make my saltfish. Okay, so basically it's salted pollock fillets. You can buy this in most Hispanic supermarkets or even in Walmart if you go into the international section of the frozen food section. Okay, so when you open the package, it's full of salt. Salt is used to preserve the fish and dry it out. So what you're going to do is just rinse off all the salt. Any salt that's falling off, you need that off. So rinse it off like 3 to 4 times, okay, to just get it all off. And then what I do after I rinse it off is I boil it. This is just going to help take out any extra salt that is in there. It's called saltfish for a reason, okay? So fill up your pan or pot with water and just bring that to a boil. I boil mine twice just so you guys know. So when I boil it the first time, once it starts boiling, I let it go for a good 5 minutes. I drain the water, put in fresh water, and I let it boil again for an extra 5 to 10 minutes. All right, so while that's boiling, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm cutting up 2 tomatoes. I do like to bulk my fish up with other ingredients like tomatoes, onions, garlic, celery, those types of things. I could have used 2 packs, but I like to stretch it, as we say where I grew up. We like to stretch our food. Um, so I did buy 2 packs, so I'm only using 1 pack for this tutorial, but you can definitely use 2 packs for this recipe, okay? So I'm using 2 tomatoes, which I cut in half and diced them up, and I'm using 1 onion, which I'm going to slice up very thinly. You can leave it thick if you like, but I like mine thin. Once you have that done, I'm gonna go in and add my minced garlic, which I buy in a jar, about 1.5 teaspoon of the minced garlic. Then I'm gonna go in with my celery. I'm using mostly the center part and one firm stalk. I think you call it stalk. One firm stalk. All right, so the center part had about 3 to 4 pieces with the leaves, which I do like the leaves in my food. I don't mind it. So I'm gonna cut that up, and a handful of parsley. This is curly parsley. So I'm just gonna go ahead and chop that up as well, or cut it up. All right, once we have everything cut up and ready to go, we're gonna go ahead, put our rice on the stove, and I washed my rice. I'm using parboiled rice, by the way. And a trick to cook rice is you want to have your finger on the tip of the rice and measure 1 inch or 1.5 inches of water on top of the rice. Okay, so I add in 1 teaspoon of turmeric, some black pepper, some minced onion, dried onion, and a tiny bit of salt. And I'm using kosher salt, by the way. And you're just gonna mix this, and I'm also gonna go ahead and add in some coconut oil in there. So I'm adding in about 1.5 teaspoons worth of coconut oil. Once you have all the ingredients inside of your rice, you want to bring this up to a boil, like a roaring boil, as you know, bring it up to a boil, and then you're just going to cover it and let it cook on low for about 20 to 25 minutes, okay? So now that my saltfish has finished boiling for the second time, I'm going to drain it, get all the water out of it, and start cooking it. So I'm going back in with the same pan that I used to actually boil it out. I'm going to go ahead and add in my olive oil, make sure it's nice and hot, and add in my tomatoes, onion, and garlic only, not the celery and parsley yet. That I add later on, okay? So you want to cook this, make it sweat, so that the onions are not firm anymore. They're nice and soft looking. That's when you know it's time to add in your saltfish. Some people like to fry their saltfish very dry, meaning not as much bulk like I have right here, like onion tomato, like not as much bulk, just straight fish, just fried in oil, salt and pepper, and well, not salt, but pepper, and maybe a little bit of celery and this and that. But I like mine's like in between. I like it a bit moist and I like it a bit dry because I just like it a certain way. But if you like it dry, you definitely could just fry the fish by itself in oil and reduce the tomatoes and onions and things like that. So as you guys could see, I added in some thyme. Then I'm gonna add in my fish. I break it up a bit in my hands before I add it in. I am cooking for my family, so in case someone complains about gloves or anything like that, I am cooking for my family. There are certain things that I use gloves for, but this is not one of them. So I added in some paprika powder, just a dash all over it. It's probably about less than half a teaspoon. Some black pepper, which is less than half of a teaspoon. So half of 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 of a teaspoon of paprika powder, some oregano, just sprinkle in just a bit of that in there as well. You know, you can add in your own spices to make it your own and give it flavors that you like. Okay, I don't always make it like this. I always add things or take away things depending on how I feel. Sometimes I'll use red bell peppers and green bell peppers in it as well, but I didn't have any today because I didn't go shopping. So today was a quick meal. This was a very quick meal to make, so that's why the video is also a bit shorter than the other videos, okay? So once you have everything nice and mixed up, you're just gonna let that cook uncovered, and then you're gonna go ahead, check on your rice, give it a stir, and then cover it and let it finish cooking. Now I'm gonna go back in with my fish. And as you guys can see, it dried up a bit. Most of the liquids are gone. So it's pretty much in a place where I like and prefer my saltfish to be in. So now I'm gonna add in my celery and my parsley because I do like the fresh taste of parsley and celery. I like the crunch of the celery and stuff like that, the texture in the fish. So now I add it in and just mix it up and just let it cook just for a little bit more, okay? And when you're cooking these types of things, this is not, I'm gonna put it on the stove and go sit down and watch TV. When I cook, I'm pretty much in my kitchen. I don't really go anywhere. I stay in there for about an hour. Okay. Well, you know, you have your phone if you want some sort of entertainment, I guess. All right. So now for the Bora. Bora is, in America, they call it Asian long bean or yard long bean, but where I'm from, we call it Bora, or in Dutch, it's kouseband. Kouseband means like chewing band because it does have a chewy texture. It's kind of like string beans, but more chewier, if that makes sense, and not as soft. This one, Bora, is a bit more firm. Okay, so I like to cut it up like that. I'm using half of an onion, so I'm just gonna saute it up with some onion and garlic, salt and pepper. Very simple. I haven't had Bora in a very, very long time, over a decade actually. So I recently found it in a store and I bought 4 packs. So I've just been cooking it. Um, Pretty simple because I just want to taste it on its own. So hopefully I go back to the store and they still have some and I can buy a lot of it, you know, clean it, cut it up and put it in the freezer and have it for whenever I want to eat it, okay? So as you guys can see, I added in some olive oil. I'm going to add in my onions, my garlic. I added in a half a teaspoon of the minced garlic. So that's about 1 or 2 small cloves of garlic chopped up, some salt and pepper, and the Bora, and we're just gonna saute it up. I also added in some onion powder and garlic powder just because. It's optional. Like I said, you know, flavor your food to your liking. This is just a quick tutorial to show you a basic way of how I make this. I always kind of adjust my recipes before I put them on here. You know, certain things I keep to myself, okay, but it tastes pretty much the same way I would make it if I made it with those other ingredients. You know, sometimes you have to keep secrets to yourself. So now that our rice is done, we're gonna go ahead and plate. So I add a little bit of rice in the middle. I kind of like to flatten it out a bit and then go ahead, add my saltfish to the top of it. And by the way, the kids love it. One of my neighbor's kids, he really loved it as well. Okay, and then I'm gonna add my fish, my Bora, and that's pretty much it. I eat with my eyes, so I like to set my food on my plate in a way that it makes my mouth water. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up, comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you very soon in another cooking video. Bye, guys.